Content marketing is similar to that. You are telling people about all the great reasons why they should do business with your company.
Right.
So then once they're ready to make a purchase decision, they've gone down that path, reading your content, learning from you, and will hopefully pick your brand.
Right. Jay Ingram here, host of the SDR Chronicles. Super excited to bring you guys sales development practitioners and sales leaders. And today I have actually a marketer here today to talk about something about sales development and sales. She's bringing a really unique perspective. She's a storyteller here at Terminus, and she's wanting to be on the SDR Chronicles. So I said, let's make it happen. So Lauren Patrick, without any further ado, tell them what you're about, and also the topic of the day is going to be why content is important for your sales team. So go into it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Morgan.
You're welcome.
It has been amazing to see Morgan blow up over the past year. So a little bit about me. Lauren Patrick, storyteller for Terminus. I was employee number 12 in the company in 2015.
Yep.
And so then Morgan came in early 2016, and
Yep.
it was really cool to watch him not only skyrocket as an SDR, but then launch his own personal thought leadership with the SDR Chronicles.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be on this program forever, and today I actually have a reason to be. So first off, the blueprint to account-based marketing campaigns is launching next week.
There you go.
And so when we launch a new piece of content, we work really closely with sales development to make sure that our reps are equipped with the new ebook. They know how to promote it, how to share it on social. We're adding it to Sigster, which we'll talk about that whole strategy later on. But what's really important for sales development is the story that you're telling.
Yeah.
Because it's so damn hard to pick up the phone and call somebody. Cold emails don't work as well as they used to.
Right.
But when you have a compelling offer like a 100-page ebook,
Right.
then it's something that gets the conversation going.
Right. And that's we really want to talk about today, the content, why that's important, and how that basically can accelerate a lot of things that you're doing overall.
Yeah.
And that's why the blueprint we're talking about. So first question I want to go into is why should I care about content?
Okay, have I ever told you my bacon analogy?
No, I haven't. So here we go. I'm going to hear this the first time on the show. So
all right. So you are selling bacon.
Right.
And instead of saying, buy my bacon, you want to educate people on the best-in-class benefits of
Right.
bacon. So you want to tell people that it is crispy and delicious, and, this is how it should be cooked to perfection, so that when someone is ready to go and buy bacon, you've already told them about what to look for in bacon, and your bacon is top of mind.
Right.
So content marketing is similar to that. You are telling people about all the great reasons why they should do business with your company.
Right.
So then once they're ready to make a purchase decision, they've gone down that path, reading your content, learning from you, and will hopefully pick your brand.
Right. Awesome. So do you see more content as it's like the oversight for basically the sales organization to kind of help them ease into those accounts?
I absolutely think so. When you're looking at a multifaceted approach, because I'm obviously a big evangelist for ABM working for Terminus.
Of course.
Content is one of the many channels that you need to double down on.
Right.
And it all depends on the form. Our ebooks have become increasingly popular because they are so in-depth, and we have worksheets that educate people on how to do ABM. But at other organizations I've been at, it's been checklists.
Yeah.
So really quick for y'all, Terminus is my 4th startup. The companies I worked for before this all use different types of content to educate their consumers.
Right.
So whether it was analyst reports, if you were a big provider, or checklists. There was one company I worked for that was all about emergency preparedness.
Right.
So they had checklists about what to do in the event of an active shooter, which got downloaded a ton.
Yeah.
So it all depends on what you want people to learn and how they're going to be able to best consume that information.
Yeah, and at 100%, and I think that's really critical because, obviously a salesperson can come and provide value, but with content that provides more context. So how does an SDR use that content that is at their disposal, but they're lost and there's 50 ebooks? They're I don't know what to do. What should they be doing?
That's a great question, Morgan. You and I have been doing this a lot more with your reps and having those one-on-one strategic conversations about who you're talking to, what they think their pain point might is, and
Right.
then determining the type of content asset you want to include in that communication.
Right.
So I think a great example is the one we were working on this morning,
Mm-hmm.
where we decided that this person was complaining on Twitter about how much she was spending on books. And so we decided to send her a free copy of Sangram's book.
We did. That's exactly what we did.
Yeah, and then on the flip side too, you know, as a marketer, we love having big content libraries, but we have to educate our own sales team about how to leverage that content at strategic points.
Right.
So shout out to Joe Chernoff on this one. He told me something in 2015 that really, really stuck with me.
Okay.
And it's to think about the entire buyer's journey and what pieces of content you're going to line up along the way.
Right.
So if you're an SDR just beginning the conversation, what's that piece of content that's going to open the door?
Right.
For us, we've seen the blueprint work really well. Maybe it's inviting them to a webinar.
Right.
Maybe it's sending them your most popular blog post.
Right.
But taking stock, like you said, of like all the 50 different pieces of content and thinking strategically about how you're going to line all of the content up around each place of the buyer's journey and then further on to the customer marketing journey.
And so that dives into a deeper concept, right? Because as some SDRs report into marketing, some SDRs report into sales. So is it up to the SDR to decide or the salesperson to decide where that goes in the process? Or is that up to marketing? Or does there need to be an alignment on that?
That's a great question, Morgan. And you know how big we are on marketing alignment at Terminus. But I think that there does need to be some ownership on the SDR.
Okay.
You don't need to read all 100 pages of the ebook, but take your time to go through that content and not only educate yourself so then when prospects have questions, you're prepared, but then really take time to understand how else you might be able to creatively position that content.
Right.
So for the ebook, for example, 100 pages is a lot, but going through and skimming and finding the good customer quote to mention. If someone has an objection, you can answer that with the customer's voice themselves.
Yeah.
So back to your original question. It has to come from the top down.
Okay.
You get like whenever new content is about to roll out, I immediately meet with the directors and let them know what's coming.
Right.
Put together some bullet points for how to talk about it.
Yeah.
And then hopefully, if the SDRs have questions, they come to me and I say, "Hey guys, use it this way."
Right. Yeah. No, I love it, and I think people get really overwhelmed by the amount of content that is, first of all, being distributed through LinkedIn, distributed through Twitter, and distributed through your own website and through your own content. So, and you answered that really well, and how basically that needs to basically be a communication point and articulation point. So further talk about, and this is a question I get asked all the time, so I'm curious to see your standpoint.
Okay.
Should an SDR or a salesperson create content? Should every single person be creating content?
Ooh, that is a great question. I think that every single salesperson needs to be creating their own email content, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
As much as I love SalesLoft's Cadence, which is an incredible tool, batching and blasting emails is the way of the past.
Right.
It's not personalized because you have to take the time to craft compelling email messages.
Right.
And I don't know if you know this. I was in AE back in the day.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, so I totally can empathize where you guys are coming from because you have a set amount of emails, a number of demos, number of calls you got to make. But you have to take the time to create your own email content. And then thinking through like what you're going to hyperlink and what you're going to attach. Thoughtful emails resonate much better. Right.
Yeah, and it really does. And that's why I was curious to see, and I think that like SalesLoft, in a way, you can use it for that, but I think the best thing that it does is it allows you to create templates, allows you to create links, it allows you to really, modify and personalize your message so that what you're saying can be true.
And then keeping it fresh, too. Like when we worked with that other SDR back in early
Right, because we had like blocks from like 2015 and we were like in 2017 and it's like, we need to change these blocks.
Right.
So yeah.
And it's just easy to swap it up, but you have to make sure you're having those conversations with marketing and you have that dialogue going. And honestly, that's probably one of my favorite things about this company is sitting with you guys and getting to help with those one-offs.
Right. And so what happens if there isn't content that there has been published, but you're wanting to get to, and you realize, but there's so many other content strategies that you have. So personally, as a marketer yourself, how do you decide what content's important for the sales team when the sales team's like, I need like 20 articles? How do you decide that?
So from a marketer's perspective, I look at what content has resonated best in the marketplace.
Okay.
That can depend on the number of social shares. Like if I see people organically sharing something on Twitter, it lets me know that this is a question that people are looking to get answered.
Right.
So I'll give you an example. Another previous Blueprint ebook that we did included the Ideal Customer Profile Worksheet, we've seen that shared a ton on social. It's been picked up by a couple of places because people were looking for that guiding structure of how to define an ICP.
Right.
So to your original question, with so many different pieces of content, how do you design that strategy? It's all about answering those questions.
Yeah.
So, and I think that marketing also needs to really take ownership of this and have a content theme.
Right.
So for us internally here at Terminus, it's all about operationalizing ABM and trying to give people lots and lots of how-to content, which is why we've invested so much time and effort in these blueprints.
So they can actually execute and go forth and do what they need to do.
Exactly.
So have you found the worksheets and the how-to content to be the most beneficial?
For where we are and where the market is with our buyers that we're talking to.
So that goes into a deeper question. The reason I asked that is does it depend on the market on how you distribute your content?
Absolutely. And
not just like, oh, the how-tos are the best way to go. It depends on the market.
It absolutely depends on the market.
Okay.
How-to content is always impactful depending on the stage of the buyer's journey your prospects are in, because ultimately they're going to need to know how to use your product or service.
Yeah.
But for B2B, especially in sales and marketing, it's just thinking through that whole repository of all the different pieces of content. I have my 10 favorites with ebooks, webinars, worksheets, infographics, checklists. You know, the list goes on and on.
Right.
But for an SDR, when you realize all the good stuff that marketing has and you find the pieces that work well for you in your conversations, that's probably one of the most empowering things you can do. Yeah,
and deciding on the content, right? So there's 3 forms of content: video, audio, and written form. How do you decide which of those 3 to use within your process?
Well, I think you do have to use all 3 nowadays.
Okay, all 3. You have to use all 3.
I think you have to use all 3.
Okay.
We've seen how well personalized videos from Vidyard can work.
I love Vidyard.
Yeah.
You guys know that, though.
We've also seen how well webinar replays and recordings can work.
Okay.
Or videos from recent presentations or speaking engagements.
Right.
They're a great way to get your foot in the door. And that's attached with a written email that comes with a follow-up phone call.
Yeah. Awesome. So have you found one is better than the other, or is it just you have to use all 3? Kind of like you said.
You have to take an omnichannel approach.
Got it.
You know, and social too.
Right.
And shout out to Coca Sexton on this one too, because Coca does an amazing job giving reps advice on how to sell across social, including Twitter and LinkedIn. So I think SDRs have probably the most challenging job in the industry, but once you can get through it and you can master it, you pretty much can do anything.
Right.
And cold calling is such an incredible skill because it teaches you how to talk to pretty much anybody.
Yes, that is 100% fact. I think once you can make cold calls, like, you're pretty much bold to say a lot of things because you're just calling someone out of the blue, and that in itself is probably the hardest thing to do if you've never done it before, because you're getting rejected over and over again, and you're just like, when am someone going to say yes to me? And
speaking of which, you're keeping a steady mindset as an SDR video. You've seen how well that piece of content has been used for your personal brand to really help you get out there.
Yeah, I mean, that's like I said in the first video, like, if you don't understand this first video, the other future episodes to come won't matter. Like, none of this will matter, because if you can't keep a steady mindset, you're not going to know how to articulate the value within your prompt of your email with the content that we're talking about right now. You're just not. So I think that's why it's super important to have that steady mindset. And that just goes across the board, because sometimes you may not have all the things that you want from the get-go, but you have to keep a steady mindset that it will come and you'll be able to give that value.
Absolutely. And then here's a question for you, Morgan.
Oh, I'm getting asked questions now. Oh my gosh.
Okay, so this is one thing we've talked about a lot internally, is how to take the objections you guys are getting on the phone and fold that into the content we're going to create in the future.
Yeah.
For marketing, what's the best thing that we can do to help support you guys?
Yeah, I think on a marketing perspective, it's understanding the things that we deal with on the front line. So, as an SDR, even sales team, we're basically going against and we're talking to marketers on a daily basis. So the conversations that we're having in whatever industry or target market you're going into, we're just having a lot of conversations. And so these objections, if you hear them over and over again, it's what the market sees as a problem as a whole, but more than likely won't talk to an SDR about it and be like, these are my problems. It's just, they're not just going to spill the beans on that. So the biggest thing is like, hey, here's the objection that we're running into. Let's create a content piece around it so we can add that in our emails. So like on the phone, if they do see it, they don't come with that objection that we're handling. And now we're actually able to have a more fruitful conversation that will lead into an opportunity.
Because you're front loading what you're going to answer with that objection.
Correct.
Very cool. Well, thank you for answering my question.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. So I know we're asking some really impactful questions. So when it comes to content and what you're curating, what is the process behind the content that you create if you're not getting objection handlings from us or even any advice from the sales team?
That's an excellent question. So for my team, it's me and my right-hand woman, Shauna. And at the beginning of the year, we said that we were going to produce one ebook every quarter,
right,
which was a big goal. A lot of companies will only do one big ebook every year.
Right.
And so last quarter, she put out a 70-page ebook. This quarter, she's got a 100-page ebook. So now we're thinking through, we have almost 200 pages of content that we've written for the year. What are we going to do on the back half of this coming, quarter in Q4?
Right.
Well, oh my God, we're in Q3 now. Excuse me.
Yeah, Q3.
Yeah. So what are we going to produce in Q3 and Q4 with these ebooks that we can repurpose?
Right.
So I can't remember who wrote it, but at the beginning of the year, I read this blog post about how anything you write, you should be able to do a 30-minute webinar on, and we've really stuck to that mindset. So. We're doing webinars every 2 weeks because that's something Lucas, our sales director, asked us to do, was webinars every 2 weeks for SDRs.
Yeah.
And so now we are looking at our other content pieces to pull information into that for webinars. So like the Blueprint to ABM webinar that we did with Julia Stead and Jim from Salesforce. We just did the Becoming an ABM Superheroes webinar, which was based off an infographic and a blog post we wrote in May.
Right.
So now it's thinking about how to repurpose the Blueprint to ABM campaigns for webinars in Q3 and Q4, and what other content we need for the next two ebooks on operationalizing and how to ABM and those other questions that people want answered.
Yeah, and that's super impactful overall. Like the insight that you're getting, you're taking on yourself, and you're also leveraging the value and the advice you're getting from other people, which is super important. And that's why, obviously, the success that's cultivating it to the whole entire sales organization is gonna fuel that fire overall.
Absolutely. And going back to Joe Chernoff as well, you're thinking through that entire narrative, like your total content repository and all the different assets that you can line up.
Yeah, no, I love it. And as we wind this down, and there's a lot of insight that I've already gained just by sitting here thus far. A couple last questions that I have. So the content that you're creating, it's going out there, it's going really great. When do you decide that there needs to be a complete shift in the content that you're doing and do a different message?
That is a great question. So we didn't even talk about the whole metrics component and making sure that the content that you're putting out there is really resonating.
Yeah.
For us, it's based on downloads with prospects and opportunities that are within our ICP.
Right.
If we see that something is not resonating, we have to scrap it and start over.
Right.
So I'll give you an example. We had a landing page that got almost 1,000 views, but only 11 conversions.
Right.
So we realized there was a problem there. So we had to take a step back, analyze the asset, and figure out what messaging needed to change so that we could get more conversions off that landing page and more downloads of that content. It's tough because most content marketers and marketing communications people don't take that operations mindset.
Right.
I didn't organically, and so that's why I'm really thankful that I have Stephanie Kelly in my corner, so that we're collaborating together and looking at those metrics to see what content is really impactful.
Right.
Oh, and we also have a really cool report. I highly recommend, if you're a salesperson watching this, you ask marketing for this report. At the end of every quarter, we pull a closed-won report of all the accounts that we closed and all the different marketing touches that each of those accounts have.
That's impactful.
Yeah, so then we can see who downloaded the blueprint, who came to a webinar, who signed up for our email newsletter.
Right.
So that way we know what content is working to really drive revenue.
Right. Awesome. Well, there you go. That's valuable insight and a hidden gem in itself. So as we wind this down, the last question, the final question, that's every single person that comes on the show. What is the number one piece of advice that you give to SDRs as they move into their new role?
Ooh. Number one piece to an SDR as they move into their new role, as in SDRs today, or where they want to go in the future? Just
as they go into like a new role as an SDR.
Well, this is the same question I asked you over lunch the other day.
Yeah.
Thinking about what comes next. You will not be an SDR forever. It's understanding what you learn as an SDR and how that can apply to your career in the future. So for me, back in the day when I was an AE at a magazine, I was automatically thinking, like, this is a stepping stone for me to understand so I can be a publisher for a magazine one day, which is still a bucket list goal for me.
Right.
And everything I learned as an AE, I'm actually using in my career today as a storyteller.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So think big picture. Yes, your grind sucks. Everybody has a tough
It is a grind.
But there's a light at the end of the tunnel. You have to keep that steady mindset and that North Star that's guiding you towards your final destination.
Awesome. Well, Lauren, it was a pleasure having you on here today. I think learned a ton about content, so this is a must-watch episode for sure. As I always say, guys, keep dialing, and I'll see you guys soon.